What the fuck is going on with science? I thought the PC police, the thought police, would never get in there because 2 and 2 is 4, but no, they've invaded. When I was a kid, when I was in college, we were in liberal arts and there was classes like philosophy of self, philosophy of love. I keep talking about how my professor Marvin Glass told me it's okay to have an abortion up until a year after the baby's born. But the STEM kids would run around the school saying art sucks, and I think we knew deep down they were right, and their day-to-day was way harder than ours. But that's changing now. And it's seeping in to all the other sciences. Like, I first noticed this with anthropology. There's a guy, what's his name? Napoleon Chagnon or something. He wrote a book called Noble Savages, My Life Among Two Dangerous Tribes, the Yanomamo and the Anthropologists. And this was a guy who lived among Aboriginals in God knows where they eat each other. And he said, wow, these people are brutally savage. And that was normal anthropology for a long time. And then all of a sudden, one day, very recently, describing that was a horrible thing. No, all savages are peaceful. There's no such thing as a savage. And he went from being a well-respected empiricist who researched data to a Nazi. And I saw there's a great book called The Myth of the Peaceful Savage by Lawrence Keeley. And it's called War Before Civilization, The Myth of the Peaceful Savage is the subtitle. And he talks about at the beginning of the book how he had to actually couch what he was researching in politically correct jargon to get funding. So instead of saying, yeah, when we got here, they were killing each other. There was mass graves all over the place. The Indians were not smoking peace pipes. They weren't groovy. He had to sort of say, I want to research these myths about savages and show that they were peaceful. And just because there's 1 or 2 mass graves, that's how you have to talk to get funding. You have to couch it. And if you don't, you're a villain. And the problem with science is it's for autistic nerds. Empiricists tend to be unemotional because math is unemotional. And my experience has been when you talk to someone who's really good at math or really good in the sciences, they tend to be kind of weird. Like they don't party, they're not funny, they're sort of robotic nerds. I'm reminded of that Japanese guy, Satoshi Kanazawa, who did a paper called Why Are Black Women Less Physically Attractive Than Other Women? Now, he got in a heap of shit for this, and they had great rebuttals like L.Z. Granderson from CNN, who claimed, my mother is beautiful. Ergo, he's refuted. But the thing about Satoshi is he didn't have any emotions about it. He just showed thousands of people 8x10s, and black women, especially black lesbians, tended to do bad. Now, if he had any kind of savvy charm and he got the crazy world we live in, he would say, black lesbians tend to score badly on beauty charts and surveys. Here's what we need to do to change it. Or this depressing and sad results of a survey steeped in slavery and prejudice or something like that. Like the guy who wrote one of my favorite books, Why Men Earn More, The Startling Truth Behind the Pay Gap. And he talks about what I always get in trouble for saying, which is women choose to earn less. They'd rather be at home with their kids than stay all night. And he adds to his subtitle, and what women can do about it. You can't just state the facts. You have to sort of put a spin on it to make people feel better. And this is because the thought police have trickled into science and just started infecting it like a computer virus and changing data. Like I heard Jason Richwine talking about this, and he was talking about gay marriage and how one of the scientific explanations for it was gays in states where gay marriage is legal are something like 240% happier than gays where it's illegal. Let's just assume that's true, right? It's not. They didn't take into account other factors like drug addiction, and gays in states where gay marriage is legal tend to have a bigger problem with drugs. And when you look at the whole picture of all abnormalities, all mental health, all personal health, gay marriage states and anti-gay marriage states come out just about even. But the gay left just plucks out that one detail and says, here's a scientific explanation. And everyone falls for it because empiricism is boring, math sucks, so they allow this sort of restructuring of the data. Bill Nye is the king of this. The guy has a BA in mechanical engineering, and all he keeps saying is, this is science, and if you don't agree with me, you hate science. He says it about global warming all the time, and we keep hearing this stupid number, this infuriating number, but 97% of scientists all agree. What, you hate 97% of scientists? You must hate science. And of course, this all goes back to one study done by this woman named Maggie Kendall, a student. She sent out a survey to something like 3,000 people with 2 questions. Then she liked 700 of the respondents. Then she sent that particular focus group 2 more questions when she already had her converted masses to preach to. So yes, 97% of this select group agree. But in the real world, we've got 1,000 scientists signing this giant PDF, I think it's like 350 pages, about that deny man-made global warming. So this is why it's normal to be dubious of this sort of left-wing philosophy of self stuff, but now we have to be dubious of scientific data because the empiricists are villains, the mathematicians are the bad guys, and the touchy-feely types who are emotion-based, they are the good guys. Even speaking of Jason Richwine, we all know what happened to him, right? He was doing a study on immigration at the American Enterprise Institute, and they discovered that long ago he did his dissertation, his PhD at Harvard, which stated that Mexicans, Hispanics, tend to score lower on IQ tests, and when they assimilate into American culture, these tests still do pretty bad. So that gets morphed into Mexicans are dumb, and this guy hates Mexicans, so why is he part of this research group? Now, the dean of Harvard, when he was confronted with Jason Richwine's controversy, he just said, if you don't like the paper, refute it, write your own paper. But that was too late. He'd already said that. Now, this is when I go, couldn't you have couched it? Couldn't you have said the terrible disparity with Hispanic IQ tests and what we can do to change it? Then he wouldn't have been a villain. But then, on the other hand, that's a swan dive, I think we all have to belly flop and just state the truth. I'm of 2 minds about it. On the one hand, I think we need to just state it and you can suck it up if you don't like it. On the other hand, I think we have to couch it. Anyway, there's all these villains who are nerdy math guys who are in STEM and are now bad guys because they don't adhere to the narrative. And I always thought that you were safe if you said 2 and 2 is 4, but we've managed to creep in there and make these guys bad guys and proudly state that 2 and 2 is 5. But I have good news. The replicability in the social sciences is proof that the cognitive dissonance in science between reality, scientific methods, and the narrative has become such a huge gap that it can't sustain itself. The social sciences is fucked right now because they are having to apply scientific standards on their mumbo jumbo. That's the beauty of the internet. That's the beauty of the information age. When you run the numbers, the narrative runs out of time. So have faith, folks. This total insanity of left-wing propaganda seeping into STEM is actually its death knell because scientific standards are going to wipe out all this crap. 2 and 2 is 4, no matter how many people it offends.